past collection time, or coming back to the if it finds it in there, or if it's post collection time, if it finds it in there tomorrow, and they're postmarked today,
Hi, Jerry. Hi, Jerry.
I think we need another puppy visit at City Hall. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I think so too, Michelle.
Hi, Jerry.
She's getting bigger, Michelle. She's like 5 pounds now.
Oh my goodness. She's
She goes to the vet in the morning, so I'll see how much she's actually weighing. She has to get shots in the morning. Jerry, look. Andy's talking to you. Say hi,
Jerry.
No.
Good evening, ladies.
Hi.
Hi, Dad.
Good evening, ladies. I hope it stays just like this. I'd love to spend some time with just women tonight.
Only Dawn. Oh,
Nice,
Lord. I'll play her in a few minutes. What are you doing, ma'am? Kelly, did you already let the mayor know to make this meeting short because you have Colin time to spend? So make it snappy.
I did not. Well, I put it on Facebook, so I think
I
everybody-
saw.
I know that was her hint. That was her big hint to all of us to make it snappy. I already picked up on that. Don't worry.
Yeah,
How long is he home for?
he's home until January 3rd.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, pretty excited.
Yeah, I was surprised. My cousin's daughter is in the Marines and just went through everything. I think she left in the pandemic. I can't remember when we did the drive-by parade for her. She was leaving, but
Yeah,
I like late spring. But I was surprised she was able to come home for Christmas. She surprised her mom. Didn't even tell her mom.
oh wow, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So, but I was kind of surprised. I didn't think she'd be able to come home already. So
yeah. I think it was we didn't even know he was coming until the week before. Like, so they didn't approve his papers for the week before. And I know a lot of them were denied and told they couldn't come, and it came right down to like platoon. I don't know. It was hit or miss, but I know there's a lot that couldn't come home. So I'm pretty happy. He was deployed last Christmas, so we didn't see him last year. So I'm glad we get to see him this year.
yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Gordon usually joins way ahead. Gordon's taking it to the wire. All right, Lynn, I don't think she can hear me. This will be the third time I've seen Lynn today. Hey, Lynn, third time's a charm. Third time today.
Mayor, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
My microphone wouldn't work when we did the Google meeting this morning,
Oh,
so I had to use my phone. So it must have been a Google thing.
probably.
I didn't like that Google meeting. I didn't know, it was different than what I'm used to. I'm like, I was on late. I didn't like it.
Yeah.
I
Right.
couldn't see myself, which, made me weirded out that I didn't know what I looked like while I was talking.
Yeah, I didn't like it either.
But
We have
I
to
could
use
only
Teams
see
that-
myself.
Yeah, there's a different button you push, Greg. I couldn't see myself at first either, and I had to figure it out, but there's a waffle button up in the right that you have to click, and then it shows like waffle +1 or something, and you click it again, and then you pop up with everybody else. But because at first I couldn't see myself, and I was going to be weirded out too.
We're all so vain. We have to see ourselves.
Yes, clearly.
Can you hear me now?
Yes. All right. It is 5:30, so I'm going to call to order the pre-meeting study session for the Adrian City Commission. Roll call, please.
Mayor Heath,
Present.
Mr. Hope,
Present.
Mr. Roberts,
President.
Mr. Watson,
Present.
Mr. Strayer,
Present.
Commissioner Gauss,
Present.
Commissioner Castleberry,
Present.
all commission members present.
Greg, I'll hand it over to you.
Well, thank you, Mayor. This is the time for the pre-meeting. However, the first item on the agenda is your item. So I'm
Yep.
going to hand it right back to you to
All
discuss
right.
an idea regarding outside legal counsel.
Okay, what I would like to discuss here is, it just seems that there is, very differing viewpoints. Maybe, there's not clarity. It's kind of blurry when it comes to roles of certain positions per our charter, especially when it comes to the roles of, and exactly what the exact role may be of city attorney and commissioners and and our city administrator, and just would really like to bring in some outside municipal law legal counsel to really look at our charter and digest that and come in and advise us as a commission and just go over like where they see that. I know it's just another opinion and we all have a differing opinion, but I think it would be really nice to have somebody that has a lot of experience in municipal law. None of us have that. I mean, Tamaris has a few years and Greg doesn't have any municipal law experience, even though he has law experience, and none of us have law experience at all on the commission. But just to bring in that third party to really look at our charter, take it apart and discuss it with us and have interaction with us and advise us on, where we should go from here. I would love to have discussion about this. I just want you to know I wanted to discuss, have the discussion first, and then before I even started getting, quotes, I don't really know what we're looking at. I've basically been told they're all going to probably pretty much be the same, but I have already been doing a lot of research on some of the best municipal law firms that are in the state of Michigan that could come in and advise. And this is what they do. Like, they only do municipal law. This is exactly what they do. And they come in and they advise commissions, councils, whatever it is, depending on the municipality. Some of them will act as a city attorney if that municipality doesn't have one at the time. But this is what their specialty is. And there's a lot of them out there that have come very highly recommended. But before, we're not going to put a resolution on or anything. We need to have this discussion. So.
Again, I'll jump in. I'm lukewarm on this matter. As you stated early, Mayor, is that this is just an 8th opinion. And it's an opinion with some more experience, but it's still just an opinion. Additionally, I think it's a matter of, you know, yeah, if we do go this route, again, it's another situation where we need to be clear as to what we expect to get out of the advisor and make sure that we are engaging them appropriately. I think it needs to be a very, 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 very discrete scope of work, and very specific as to what our desired outcome is. Otherwise, we could get engaged and engaged and engaged and engaged for more and more billable hours. And I am not interested in that.
I guess I'll go. I think that we, as a city commission, without our understanding and our differences of opinions over the last couple of weeks on what we think the roles should be, with no clarity on that, again, I don't like spending money either, especially on something like this, because really we should just look at the charter and find out everybody's roles is pretty well defined in that manner. But I think just some of the disagreements that we've had on whose role is what, with some new commissioners on that haven't been here, more than a couple of years, and sometimes in that case, not even a year. So I think to get us some clarity, but I think you're absolutely right, Commissioner Watson, when we need to know what we're going to get out of this, if we do opt to go this route. I think we need some clarity personally. I feel that somebody from the outside can give a third party, can give a different perspective and kind of digest what exactly are the roles of some, especially the employees that we control when it comes from an employment standpoint. So I would support this just to have that clarity, because again, if the city commission agreed as a whole on what the roles were, then I don't think we would have to go on this route. But right now we currently don't. So
I think it's a good idea for clarity, but I also think it's a good idea moving forward 2, 3, 5 years down the road for possibly future commissioners or whoever could be in certain roles, just to have things defined a little bit more clearly. I guess in my opinion, in my own mind, I think I'm pretty clear on how I think things should be, but I'm not necessarily, maybe I'm wrong on some things. So I think it's a good idea. I don't want to spend a whole boatload of money on it. And like Commissioner Watson said, I think we have to be very specific as to what we tell this person. This is what we want you to do, so that we're not getting billed for things that aren't going to be beneficial to us.
I'll chime in and echo a lot of what's already been said, so I don't want to take too much time. I, like Ladd, thought that I understood where people's roles were and who was supposed to do what, but when I read the charter in relation to a couple of those roles, it's not clear to me when it comes to a city full-time employee and someone who is a contract employee. And I would like to make sure that we understand if there is a difference in what's in the charter for an actual city full-time employee versus one that we have contracted. So that would be a narrow band that I want clarified. If also, and I don't know who would be able to answer this, the charter reads everything as he, and there is no mention of females in the charter. Is that something that we would have to go to a vote to make changes, even if it's just a matter of changing he to him and her or something like that?
Unfortunately, Commissioner Roberts, it is, we can't amend the charter without going to a vote. It's something though that a prior city administrator Byrd and I, when we talked about doing the charter revision, which kind of got put on hold when COVID came, I'm sure that Greg and I will get to it when COVID's over. But that's something that I definitely would have brought to everyone's attention to make that adjustment while we were doing kind of a overall review of the charter, but you're correct. Everything still says he. I think the charter was last revised in the 70s, so that's why.
Thank you.
Before women had been invented.
And that may be something even they bring up, that our charter, you know, I mean, I think some of this has come about because we've changed certain, I mean, we I don't want to say we've changed rules, but we've given more duties and changed things around a little bit since the charter was even revised last, just because, I mean, we have marijuana now added. I mean, there's different things, and I know those aren't going to be in the charter, but you know, things have blurred. It maybe confused it a little bit more, and that's why I would really like to have some clarity when it comes to that. So I guess one of my questions would be, like, what exactly, like how specific, like what are you exactly, you know, so that when we're getting these quotes, we're going to have to be asking, like, this is what we exactly want you to come do. So what exactly would you like to see defined?
I think Mary hit it spot on, because you know, we have a little different situation because technically our city attorney is not an employee, so it's very gray now. So obviously, you know, she represents the city, but we need to know what essentially goes through her office, because I think the city commission is why we're here, is that we have a difference of opinion on what should flow through her office and what should not. So, you know, some commissioners say that it should be, you know, as an advisory role, which, okay, well, then I need to know for myself, I need to know then when it comes to some of the things we're trying to tackle, like whether it be blight, whether it be, you know, prosecution of cases, like, so who controls the workload, who controls the docket, what's, you know, for me being one of the 7 that makes this hire, I want to know for my own personal, you know, situation, I want to know who's in control of what, who's responsible for what, who do I individually hold accountable for what. And right now it's very gray and cloudy right now for me.
If this is something we are seriously thinking about considering, Mayor, I would like to take a little bit of time and think about what do we want from this outside counsel, and put together some ideas to send to you.
And that's perfectly fine. I was throwing that out there. I didn't mean you had to answer me right now, but if you had any, that was great. Because even when I started like researching, a lot of them are basically going on a hiatus here for a little bit just because of the holidays. And it was something it was probably gonna have to wait till the new year anyway. So yes, you can think about that, get back to me on what you would like to see. And but are we good with pursuing that to get the quotes, to see what we have then to pursue that outside legal counsel? I
would like to do a little more research before we get quotes, I guess, too. I would like to look back at some older minutes and things and see what was discussed when we made changes from full-time to contracted and things like that, and just see what expectations were then, to have a stronger understanding of why we were switching, what the expectations were at that point, to understand what we're looking for now as well. Does that make sense?
Yes.
With Mary, I would like a little more time to research this. Just a few days was not enough time for me.
Right.
Would you want to maybe consider the scope of work for for outside counsel at your next meeting, and then once you have an agreed upon scope of work, go ahead and request quotes based on that.
I think it's always good to have a rough draft of sorts if we're gonna go
Yep.
down this road. And so the January meeting, if we had a rough draft of that scope, I think that would be helpful to start that discussion or yeah, to start that discussion knowing that it's a draft.
Right. I figured it would take a few pre-meeting discussions on this anyway, so can we agree then that we can get ideas of what you want and we can have this discussion at the next pre-meeting? In the first one in January? Is that good? Is that enough time? To
Yeah.
have that
Give
discussion?
it time for me.
Enough time for me.
We will do that then. Thank you, everyone. Greg, I will send it back over to you. Thanks.
Okay, our next item is, relates to tax foreclosure properties. I'll note, we are fortunate to have our county administrator here with us tonight as well. We received from the county treasurer notice that 4 properties that had gone through what we colloquially call the scavenger auction did not sell. We have a resolution on the agenda. So we have until December 30th to make a decision on whether or not we want any of these properties. And we actually have a resolution on the agenda proposing to accept 2 of them and to reject 2 of them. The 2 that we're recommending that you accept are 116 and 118 South Main. Those are the 2 buildings immediately adjacent and south of Maiden Lane downtown. And those have been blighted for a while. And in fact, the city invested quite a bit of money in trying to shore up the back wall of 116, all of which money we have kind of lost now because of the failure to collect on it in the tax sale. But we feel as staff that being in control of that property and having an opportunity to try to combine it with the third property that is, there are 3 tax parcels that are part of what appear to be that building, 116, 118, 120. 120 is still owned by the family that had owned the other 2. But we have some strong indication from folks who are doing development on that street that they would be interested if those properties could be combined. And so we want to take a shot at controlling these properties, combining them, and being able to then convey them to someone who has a vision for their redevelopment that would be consistent with ours. So that's those 2. The other 2 are vacant lots, vacant residential lots. I don't really see a benefit to the city to owning those vacant residential lots. It's just more property we have to mow. And so I'm recommending that we do not accept ownership of those 2 lots. And happy to discuss that, answer any questions. I'm sure Marty would be happy to answer any questions you have as well.
So we're clear. What cost would there be for us to take over those parcels? Any cost? And then what like maintenance and upkeep might we need to do immediately before we can convey those to a buyer?
So we have a standing order on 116 as it relates to the condition of the rear of that property, particularly because the basement is sort of open. And so at the very least, we need to make that safe. I don't know that we have to repair the building as such, but we need to put fencing out there and create a safe situation if we're going to be the owner of that building. In the very short term, I would not anticipate us needing to do anything else physically to the buildings, and it would be our hope that we would not be the owner of them very long. just long enough to be able to combine them up through some means and then transfer them to somebody who's ready to do the development of them.
So the county owns them right now? Because I was on the commission when we put that back wall on there, and I was very against it, even though I supported it because of the safety issue that we had on it. So the county owns those buildings right now then, or?
Correct.
Okay.
They initially, so the way it worked at the so-called scavenger auction, so there's an auction whereby you must pay all, and correct me if I'm wrong, Marty, but there's an auction whereby you must pay the entire amount of back taxes owed if you want to become the owner, and nobody bid on them at that auction. There's the second auction that, as I say, is colloquially called the scavenger auction, and you can bid any amount at that auction. And there were, I think, multiple parties bidding up to a point. The land bank was trying to become the owner of them for basically the same reason that I'm putting forward, but they were outbid by a fellow in Belleville by, they had a maximum amount that they could bid of, I think, $10,000, and they were slightly outbid, like $10,100 by this party in Belleville, was the high bidder, but then he failed to effectuate the sale within the required period of time. And so with that, it went back to the county, and the county then offers it to us before they otherwise would dispose of it. I think it's important to control the destiny of those properties. We've had discussions going back quite some time with prospective developers of that property, and we all anticipated that when we knew the taxes were in arrears, we knew they were substantial because of the repairs to the back wall. We all anticipated that ultimately, when it went to tax sale, that the then owners would not be able to retain ownership. However, we didn't really anticipate this situation where the land bank would have been outbid by.
Not to bring up bad memories, but what peace of mind do I have that this won't become another Gene Christopher situation?
Yeah, I don't know that one as well as all the rest of you. I know a little bit about it, but the goal is not to be the owner of this property long term. It's to assemble it and convey it. And I think the peace of mind you can have is that there are interested buyers if we can accomplish that task.
Okay.
This property is in a lot better shape than the Gene Christopher property, which I think that would.
Yeah, and the city didn't own the Gene Christopher property. We just controlled if it was going to be taken down in a historical building. That's where we came into play, is that we had the first right of refusal with that. I'm more concerned, I guess, just recouping the money we invested on the wall more than anything, because again, that was taxpayer money. I wasn't happy about us doing that in the first place, because once you open up Pandora's box of fixing up private property, but I also understood the safety measures that we had to take, and because bricks were falling down. I mean, it was horrible right there in Main Lane. So, and I am confident that with the traction that's going on in downtown, that we can move them. I just want to get the money back for the taxpayers. That we invested in that back wall. So.
Do you know how much we invested for that wall? Because I just don't. I don't know, but I don't know that we will get that back when we go to sell it.
I think it was around 50,000. I think
it was
70,000.
I thought it was pretty high. I did. And if people haven't already bid on those properties, I understand we have some new people interested in it, but do we really think that we're going to get back $70,000 for that piece of property? Or are we going to be okay with accepting half that amount or something
Yeah,
like?
I mean, just to be clear, I think, we're gonna have to make some kind of a deal to get the third building. And so we're gonna maybe have to put something in and then get it back to be able to accomplish that. That's a negotiation. We've had few discussions with that owner who is related to the owners of the former owners of these buildings as well. But I mean, if we want to control the destiny of that property, this is the optimal way to do it.
And if we,
That's the only, okay.
then if we vote this down and we don't accept ownership of these 4 parcels, Mr. Marshall, what happens at that point? Or Greg, what happens at that point?
If the city does not take ownership of the property, and it doesn't matter whether it's 1 or 4, whatever you decide to do, then the county would continue ownership of the property and probably proceed to try and do something similar to what Greg is describing. I understand where Greg's at, the desire to chart your own course as opposed to being, watching what somebody else does with property that you have a direct interest in.
So basically, we're not going to recoup that wall if we don't take them over anyways. We just have a chance of recouping some of that we put in if we do take ownership and then we sell them, correct? Okay.
Right.
And how confident are you feeling? Like I'm the only thing I'm scared of is that we're gonna hold these properties and not be able to get that third one that goes, in those downtown ones, and get that third one, that 120 to go. We're not going to be able to get that. And then, what does that do? I mean, we're going to be sitting there holding those properties. What does that do to us? You know what I guess that's my one concern.
Well, we don't have the same.
How confident do you feel?
I'm moderately confident. We don't have the same constraints on us that property owner has. That property owner has carrying costs and no income. And we really don't. I mean, we don't pay taxes to ourselves, obviously, and we don't owe anything on the property. And so it seems to me we're in a stronger position. We got 2/3 and they have 1. It seems to me we're in a stronger position to negotiate for ownership of the totality than they are.
But just to be clear, you're only thinking we should take your opinion is that we should only be taking ownership of 2 of these 4 parcels, correct?
Yeah, the other parcels are not of any interest to the city. The other parcels are vacant residential lots.
Okay.
And the addresses are in the resolution. One is 949 Howell Avenue and the other is 834 Michigan Avenue. I think they probably had houses on them at one time that were demolished.
Are there any unpaid taxes on the third building?
No, I don't believe so. I don't know if you know, Marty, but I don't think they're in arrears on the third building.
Greg, I don't know if they have paid the most recent taxes on the property. By virtue of paying off what was made them eligible for foreclosure, they forego having them on the sale. I don't know how they stand with the more recent tax years.
think they only have winter taxes due.
Thank you.
And that third building is for sale currently right now. Yes, no? Do you know?
I don't know. I don't know.
Okay.
We didn't put a lien on that when we put that money in that bill. I'm trying to remember.
Well,
I remember it was pitched to me that if they go in default and into foreclosure, the city would get the building. And Lad can correct me if I'm wrong if he can remember, but I remember because I was really hesitant to do that. Obviously understanding the just the worries about the building falling off and injuring somebody, safety concerns, but I could have swore we put something in there, or this, because the commission wanted some assurance that if it was going to default, that we would recoup that building because we would have a lien on it of some sort. That wasn't done. Do you have anything with that agreement or?
Well, yes, we had that lien and that got reported to the county as delinquent, and that's what the tax sale was for, to try to collect that money, but it didn't sell.
Gotcha.
And even if it had sold for the 10,000, that wouldn't have reached what was owed.
Right.
This is exactly the situation that we're talking about sometimes in our blight meetings, where you spend the money to do the work, but is the property worth that much money? And at the end of the day, if you have to foreclose to try to collect it, are you going to recoup that money?
Right.
That's why when residents say, oh, we should do something with the old country market area or the mall, I always tell them the city is not in the business of owning those properties. It's not our property, and we don't want to pay to fix those up. So it's a challenge, that's for sure. But my understanding is we had to do this for safety reasons.
We already have this much money invested, and I think it's important that we do try to see this thing through so that we get somebody, so that we can turn this property over to somebody who's going to do something really good with it to help our downtown. If we give up control, then anything could happen.
Yeah.
We don't want it to be another warehouse.
Mini storage?
Yeah.
I think we're in a slightly better position to negotiate than the county would be, even if they would follow the same approach, because we have more direct relationship with the property owner. They own other properties in the city. We're better able to, my sense is that we're better able to deal than the county might be in that same situation. There's no other discussion on that. We do have a resolution on the regular meeting agenda tonight, consistent with what I discussed. Okay. So our next item on the pre-meeting agenda is regarding the proposed agreement we received from the county to appoint the county equalization director as the designated assessor for the county As I understand it, this is a requirement for them to have such a person in place in the event that any of the municipalities in the county would fail their or have deficiencies in their audit that the state tax commission conducts every 5 years. I think our next audit is in 2023. And if in fact you had such deficiencies and you failed to correct them in the time that is given to you by the tax commission to make those corrections, that's normally a year. If all of that were so, then the current statute provides for that, for the tax commission to be able to appoint the designated assessor to essentially correct your assessing problems on their behalf. I think that the agreement that we've been presented only is effective if a majority of the municipalities in the county approve it. And I think that has to be approved and submitted by the end of the year, and in order for that to happen. We received it from the equalization director on December 10th, hence it only appearing on your agenda tonight. And since the deadline, as I understand it, is the end of the year, that's the other reason it's on the agenda tonight. But I wrote you a memo with my thoughts on the matter that was in your packet. I don't know, Marty, do you want to add anything as it relates to this proposed agreement?
Sure, and that's actually why I'm attending tonight. I was interested in the downtown properties discussion, but I was asked to be in attendance for this discussion. The designated assessor is a recent requirement of the state tax commission. Initially, the plan was for the state to determine that the county equalization director would be the designated assessor. There was disagreement in some parts of the state. Some local units didn't want the county equalization director to be the designated assessor. Some equalization directors did not want to be the designated assessor. So it was left to the local units and the county to come up with a joint plan and have that approved in an interlocal agreement between the County Board of Commissioners and a majority of the assessing jurisdictions in each county. Back about 2 months ago, the equalization director put out a request for proposal to find a designated assessor and received 0 applications. Just to give you some idea of how this process is going statewide, I received an invitation from Kent County last month with an application date of December 3rd to submit a proposal to be their designated assessor in Kent County. I also did not return that. So, it's been a challenge statewide. We're fortunate in that our equalization director is willing to take on that responsibility. You have to keep in mind that this is a situation, an assessor of last resort. This is not you going out and hiring somebody to do this job. This is a local unit that has performed so poorly and so abrogated their responsibilities with regard to the assessment function that someone is being installed to serve as their assessor over the will of the local officials. Some of you may remember going back, boy, Kristen's on. How long ago was it, Kristen, that I served for a few years as the assessor in the city of Adrian? It's been 15 years now.
I think, I want to say the last year you signed the role might have been in 2010.
Okay,
That's when I took over.
okay. So, you know, this isn't that type of situation where you make arrangements and make a plan and have a course of action. This is when everything else has gone to pot and somebody has to come in and fix a mess. And so that's what the designated assessor process is all about. If there are any questions, I'll be happy to try and answer those.
I see your recommendation, Greg, and I hear what you're saying, Mr. Marshall. So it's like a stopgap for if the city doesn't have an assessor or we are assessing taxes incorrectly. Is that what I'm understanding? Is that what I'm hearing?
If the assessment function is being performed to a deficient degree that the state basically has determined that your local assessor is not going to make things right.
Right. So it's essentially saying, okay, we're not assessing taxes correctly. We need to bring someone in. This is who you assigned an agreement with to bring someone in to get our roles correct. What is the, what do we do if we don't sign this agreement? If this is a state of Michigan rule now, and we don't agree to have Lenawee County be our assessor of last resort, and what happens then if we're not following the state of Michigan rule?
If less than a majority of the local units, if a majority of the local units sign and the city of Adrian does not sign, nothing changes. The equalization director is still the designated assessor and the assessor of last resort.
Okay.
If less than a majority sign and there is no identified designated assessor of last resort, my understanding is that the state will make that determination.
Okay, thank you.
Marty, do you have any indication how many municipalities have approved it so far?
I do not. And quite honestly, Greg, I'm not sure that it's going to get done by December 31st. As I said, you know, Kent County was still looking for somebody and their deadline was the first part of this month. So, you know, I'm guessing that there's going to be counties that go past the 31st. We just don't want to go so far past the 31st that the state makes that determination. It's always better to drive your decision making rather than have the state make your decisions for you.
And do you have any indication, maybe you don't know, but how the, I think the compensation for the county equalization director would be $30 a parcel if under the proposed agreement. Do you know how she came up with that number?
Well, I'll give you an idea of what some of the reappraisal work that was done more recently. We had a number of units in the county that went through this process where they were forced to go through reappraisals. Those reappraisals ranged between $50 and $75 a parcel. I think that in setting that rate, there was probably a reflection of what would need to be done to clean up a unit that had not passed an AMAR and had been given the year to fix their problems and had not fixed their problems. In terms of exactly how that rate was developed, I don't know. If you read the agreement, the money really does not go to the equalization director. It would really go to the county, and the equalization director would be compensated for being the director, but she would also administer the staff that performed the work.
Right.
I think at its core, it provides enough incentive for the local unit to find an assessor that may do the job for less money and will do the job correctly.
So I'll just point out that in the resolution that you have on your regular meeting agenda, there isn't the line for approve or disapprove is blank. So whoever moves that resolution, when we get to that point on the agenda, will have to indicate which course they're proposing. It's a motion. Any other questions on this item?
I guess my last question hopefully is, right now the county has it set for $30 per parcel. If we don't approve this agreement, or it doesn't approve through Lenawee County, and the state comes in and gives us a DAA person, could they charge us more per parcel?
If you have any better information, Kristen or Marty, let me know, but I think it would be within their power to impose an appointment on us. I frankly don't know how the compensation for that party would work in that circumstance. I'm not sure anyone does.
I'll give you just a glimpse of that. The reappraisals that were done most recently in Lenawee County, they were originally bid out at $75 a parcel. It was only after the county came to the table with some of the local units and offered to do those reappraisals for $50 and $55 a parcel that a reduced amount was, that the local units were able to obtain a reduced amount. The going rate out there for particularly reappraisals has gone up significantly. People don't like doing them. They're time consuming, and it's just a lot of work for the assessor that's taking care of that.
Paraphrasing what Mr. Marshall said earlier, I'd rather maintain control here than turn anything over to the state if we can avoid it.
Okay. Anything else on that item? All right. The final listed item on our pre-meeting agenda is a proposal to rent a house at Heritage Park. I'm sure you all are familiar with the little white house that sits by the entry drive at Heritage Park. Historically, we used to use that to house seasonal employees, and more recently than that, AmeriCorps volunteers. It's not in the mechanically, it's probably in decent shape. In terms of the condition of the interior, it's not in very nice shape. But we have an employee of the Parks Division who would like to rent it, whose landlord is selling the house where he's lived for a number of years, and he asks whether or not he could rent that house. We are supportive of that idea because there are some synergies that would ensue from a Parks employee living there, specifically being able to open and close the park, which we currently pay a security company to do, and just generally being able to keep an eye on it. However, there's kind of two components to this idea. On the one hand, there's the rent, and the employee would need to pay market rent, such as that might be given the condition of the house. I would envision that being something less than a house like that would normally rent for because of that condition, with an agreement to put in time and effort painting and cleaning and fixing up. But then there's the work part where this person is opening and closing the park each day as part of their assigned duties. And because of the work component to it, we will have to offer it to the membership of that union generally on some basis in order to reassign those duties to one of their members. And my proposal that I have in your packet is that we do that based on seniority. This particular person who is interested is not the most senior, but I think is the second most senior in that union. So there's some fair chance that he would be successful in bidding on that work. I think it makes sense for the reasons that I've stated. We can get it fixed up a little bit. We can get a little bit of money coming in for it, and we can get some things accomplished at the park that we're now paying a private company to do. Happy to answer any questions about that. I know Matt's here as well. If you have questions I can't answer.
My only thought on this, or I've got a couple of thoughts on this. Again, it's going to be a common theme, but we need to make sure that we somehow put scope on what can be done, what can't be done, with the value of, hey, if you paint these rooms, put a carpet in, that kind of stuff. A true landlord tenant agreement, as well as, put controls in place to make sure, that employee isn't assuming that this is work. I'm going to go over to the park and upright soccer goals that blew over in the wind or something like that, and thinks that's 2 hours of work or something. I just don't want to get into a bad situation with a good employee because we've assumed one thing or another. So it's a delicate mix, because you want people to leave work. And I think some kinds of dedicated employee in this situation might have a tough time leaving work. Instead, think they're constantly at work because they live in the park.
Have we gotten to like some insurance information? Like what if said tenant / employee, what if he was to get hurt on the property? What if he wanted to decide to grow marijuana? Will we allow him that? So I think Commissioner Watson's spot on when it comes to, we need to, because I don't have a problem with this, leasing it out to him, but a nice detailed lease with some questions on liability from our end, the city, I think would be important. So, and also to kind of say, like, can you have pets or not? Like stuff like that, just gotta make sure that we protect our investment, because it is the city's house, so, but overall, the scope of I don't have a problem with it. So.
I think it's a great idea, because having somebody in that house, you can sort of keep an eye on the situation, because I know I've been told not, but I am quite sure that shenanigans goes on out there after dark sometimes. And I think it'd be nice to have a set of eyes at that house.
Yeah, most recently our donation box was raided, so there's that. That's a stone's throw from the house.
But that kind of goes back to Alan's comment about, so if the shenanigans are happening and, sorry, my dog, an employee lives there and is interceding and some shenanigans or such and is harmed or something, what does that look like for us too? So I just want to make sure we spell that out in insurance or liability as well. What's the difference between on time, off time, because they live on the city, and are they working or not?
Well, I guess, Kelly, I was just thinking that if, I'm not saying that the employee needs to intervene. It's just if he sees a car pull in there and it's 9 o'clock at night, that he can call Raisin Township Police. That's-
Sure. No, I get that, but I just, if he hears something and walks out and happens to walk into something that was my.
How long has that house been vacant? Do we know? I mean, because a house sitting vacant it's not good for the house, right? So if we fire this house up, are we all of a sudden gonna have thousands of dollars of repairs, upkeep and maintenance to bring this back up?
Matt, can you speak to that?
Is the house up to code? I mean, that's a great question. I don't know.
I can't imagine that there's thousands of dollars. Like Greg mentioned, we usually lend it out to AmeriCorps every year. So we have been putting some money in every year just for normal maintenance and wear and tear. There might be a couple things that we have to fix up, but I think generally, like Greg said, it's the mechanicals are fine. It's just kind of the cosmetics.
Okay, but AmeriCorps comes in the summer, don't they?
Yeah, and the furnace currently works. I was over there the other day and the furnace was kicking on and running, so.
Okay. All right. I mean, I think if we have a good lease, that can be a great, I don't want to say a perk because somebody's going to be doing work and efforts and paying rent and things like that. But I think it can be mutually beneficial for us as the employer and the employee to have that little addition or different assignment. It's a nice little house.
You haven't been inside though.
Yeah.
I just want to be really sure on our liability and, and just making sure when job duties and just making sure those don't, that those are all very clear and clarified and making sure we are okay with insurance and our liability.
Good. Anything else on that item? Not, Mayor, I'll turn it back to you. Those are all the scheduled items on the pre-meeting.
All right. Is there anything else that any commissioners would like to discuss at this time?
I'll admit, I need a different explanation or like a boiled down explanation of this whole assessor agreement with Lenawee County equalization. I read the memo, I've listened. It's just not sinking in. Like,
Me too.
Can somebody that understands this, like, try and spin this a different way as to what I heard this is a last ditch, end of the road situation, but it seems to be there's got to be something more to it. Why people are rejecting it and it's not being widely accepted. And Marty, you sent one back to Kent County. Like, I'm missing something, guys.
Commissioner, what is it that you're, I guess I'm not understanding the question. Why doesn't anybody want to do this?
Yeah, like the whole scenario of, okay, it's the assessor of last resort. And if it's just a matter of me assigning that to somebody or requesting that somebody accept that charge, that seems pretty straightforward. And knowing that the odds of somebody being called on is very minimal. But go ahead.
Because I can't say no. If I'm the designated assessor,
yeah,
I can't say no. You're signing up for a 5-year agreement that no matter what they hand you, you have to accept it. And that's why you couldn't get anybody to submit a proposal for it. That's why, well, among many other reasons why I was not interested in Kent County. But you can't say no. So if it's the worst jurisdiction in the county with all kinds of ongoing political turmoil and difficulty with the board of review, you still can't say no.
If the majority of the municipalities in the county agree to this, what you're saying is the county assessor person can't say no to doing this.
That is correct. And that's also why when Shelley put out there a request for proposal, nobody was willing to respond because, and it doesn't matter the size. if you're used to doing the Ogden townships or the Seneca townships, for example, and the one that comes along happens to be Cambridge Township with Michigan International Speedway, you still can't say no.
So Brad, I don't know if it's helpful or not, but I can tell you the reason why I did not submit a proposal was essentially that because of what Marty just said is, I could not even begin to think about doing the City of Adrian assessing and then also doing multiple jurisdictions in the county at the same time. So most people who could actually submit to be the designated assessor, they already have their own jurisdictions that they're responsible for. And so, if there were 8 jurisdictions that needed me to come in and be the designated assessor for them, alongside of me being the City of Adrian assessor, there's just not enough hours in the day to do that.
And so this, okay, I'm getting it a little bit. And this tonight is proposal is to set Kristen as the emergency assessor for the county, or the county the emergency assessor for the city, or am I way off base still?
The equalization director as the designated, emergency assessor for every community in the county.
And so from the city point, if all communities agree to this assigns this or takes care of this requirement, right?
If a majority of the communities in the county sign the agreement, then we're coming along for the ride along with them, and that's what will be approved by the state tax commission.
And instead, Greg, your recommendation is that we don't agree to that, and instead find somebody else to be our emergency assessor?
No, I mean, what I'm saying is that under, given the short time frame, I didn't feel comfortable making a recommendation that you act on it at this meeting. And
okay. But does that relinquish our opportunity to appoint the county, or I mean, because it's my understanding, or my gut tells me that Kristen has our properties in good shape. Like, we wouldn't be a burden, and we wouldn't even call on this contract for 5 years. But in the same right that it's still good that it's still a requirement that we have that. So would it work for us as the City of Adrian with a good reputation, with a good assessor, that we can go out and engage somebody else to do this instead of being in the pool with the county?
No, I think it has to be, and correct me if I'm wrong, Marty, but I think it has to be for the whole county.
That is correct.
So the City of Adrian doesn't have the opportunity to find our own emergency.
No.
But the county's got to go out and find it, and we didn't have any interest in it.
Brad, you can always hire your own. You can always hire your own assessor.
Okay.
Okay. This would be a situation. Let's say that Kristen left you tomorrow, and you hire another assessor. And by the way, this sort of thing kind of happened a few years ago, many years ago in the City of Adrian. You hire an assessor who comes in and makes a mess of things. Okay, so it happens just as they're getting ready to do the AMAR, and you fail the AMAR. So you're given a year to fix the problem. Rather than bring in somebody who's qualified, you continue to stay with that less than qualified assessor. And a year later, they have not fixed the problems for you. So now you've not passed your AMAR, and you have been delinquent in the opportunity to fix it. Now is when the designated assessor kicks in. And somebody comes in and takes over your assessment role. The city always has the ability to hire their own assessor and do the job right. It's only after clear demonstration that a local unit is not going to do the job right, that the designated assessor comes in.
And then correct me if I'm wrong, if that situation were to occur and we don't approve this, then or the majority of the municipalities do not approve it, then it's not going to be the county equalization, like a local person. It's going to be somebody the state just brings in, and they can be from anywhere, which is why you were asked for Kent County, correct?
That is correct.
So we could get somebody that is not even familiar with our area or local at all. Okay, right? All right.
That is correct.
And I think Greg's position is that since we got this on the 10th of December, you didn't feel comfortable giving us a recommendation with such a short time frame. That's why the line is blank. Am I wrong here, Greg? Or right?
That's correct.
Okay.
And so at this point, I mean, I think we've had a pretty fruitful conversation about this, and I'm not sure that another conversation would change anything. Okay. I think.
I mean, I don't think we're at much risk, yeah. Like you say, we're in good, my sense is we're in good shape. We're gonna pass our AMR with flying colors, and even if we don't, we're gonna do the right thing in the year that follows and get our house in order. So this is never gonna kick in, but given the short time frame, and I frankly was uncomfortable. I'm more comfortable with the $30 per parcel, hearing what Marty says about how much it costs others to do reappraisal work, although I don't know that applies to every single parcel in the jurisdiction, but it's a big number at $30 per parcel. We have over 8,000 parcels, so that's $250,000 if it ever kicked in.
All I can say is Kristen's looking more attractive all the time.
Thanks, Marty.
Even though we can't see her.
I really appreciate, Brad, you coming back to this, because I wasn't clear for sure either. And I do feel a lot more comfortable with where we should go, or at least where I feel I should go with this proposal and vote.
Are there any other things that the commissioners would like to discuss? Anything else? Hearing none, I'm going to move on to public comment. So it is now time for public comment. Just to reiterate, please state your name and address before you begin speaking. Thank you.
Mayor and Commissioners, Don Taylor, 475 Meadowbrook Drive, down the street from the mayor. Two things. You can't find a better equalization department than Lenawee County. Okay, end of that point. Marty's crew is the best. Secondly, with regards to 116 and 118 South Main Street, I've been in those buildings, and I would say that the repairs that were made to at least 116 were not sufficient to button up that property. A year ago, I was in there during the winter, and it was an absolute mess. So there may be some people interested in that building, and that's fine. Just I want to say that it's not as good a condition as you may think it's in. And one more thing on that property, I would hope that if the city does bundle all this, I understand why you want to do that, Greg, and it makes sense to bring 120 into it. I would hope that you might have a request for development proposals rather than just a backdoor negotiation with somebody. There are people in this town who might be interested in those properties, given the change of scenario with what happened in the last tax auction. So thank you for your time. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year.
I'm Mayor Glenn Preston. May I speak?
Go ahead.
I just would really like to encourage the commission to accept 116, 118 South Main. I first wrote this up and took it to court back when it was Robert's Jewelers. The property was then sold, and as you all know, it's vacant for about the last 10 years. We did have an emergency repair several years ago, totaling over $70,000. Some of you may or may not know that was the only contract probably in the history of City of Adrian that was not signed for whatever reason. So we could never hold the contractor responsible for the really poor workmanship he did and did not live up to the expectations. But Greg and I and Marty and I have been in some conversations with some developers. Their potential plan involves all three properties. We have had conversations with the owner of 120, but that's yet to be seen. But like Don said, as long as the city at least gains ownership of 116, 118, maybe somebody like Don and his group don't need all three buildings and they can come in and do something with 116 and 118. Don is correct. There are a lot of deficiencies with 116 specifically. There's a huge hole in the roof, but with the city having ownership of these properties, we can now control what happens to them, and instead of them just sitting vacant and being blighted. So thank you for listening, and I hope you guys all vote to accept those properties.
Hearing no more public comment, I will take a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn. Watson.
Support Strayer.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Meeting is adjourned, and we will begin our regular meeting at 7 p.m. Thank you, everyone.
Hey, I saw we got 2 meeting invites. Is the second meeting the same link that we need to log off and back on, or can I just turn my camera and mic off?
Yeah, it was just I had to adjust the time when I originally set it. For some reason,
Okay.
I had it set at 5.
Okay, so we
it's-
can stay connected?
Yep.
At this time, our city administrator, Greg Elliott, is going to give a speech about Zoom.
Thank you, Mayor. So it's 7 o'clock and I'd like to address a few things before Mayor Heath officially calls the meeting to order. For much of the meeting, we're going to ask that participants other than the commissioners and staff mute themselves to allow the commission to have their discussions and to conduct their business. That will also help to minimize any background noise, which may be disruptive. Opportunities for public comment will be offered at different points throughout the meeting. At those times, participants can unmute themselves and have an opportunity to address the commission at that point. The 3-minute rule will continue to be in effect for public comment period at the end of the meeting. When it's time for public comment, please identify your name and address for the record prior to making your comment. Once we formally begin the meeting, the format and structure are the same as an in-person meeting, and we will work through our agenda items as usual. All commission rules and procedures remain in effect. We've talked in the past about Zoom bombing. This is where a virtual meeting is interrupted by people who fill the screen with objectionable content. If this occurs during the meeting tonight, we will disconnect the meeting and restart after a few minutes. Attendees can reconnect via the same link. We will turn over the video of this meeting, which is being recorded, to law enforcement for investigation. We hope to conduct our meeting free of this sort of interruption, but we will temporarily shut the meeting down if this happens. Our agenda will be displayed on the screen as we go through. And anyone wishing to have full access to the commission packet can find it at www.adriancity.com. Thank you all for participating tonight. Mayor Heath, I'll turn it over to you.
I call to order the Adrian City Commission meeting for December 21st, 2020. If everyone could please rise for a moment of silence and the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Robin, roll call, please.
Mayor Heath,
Present.
Commissioner Halt,
Present.
Commissioner Roberts,
Present.
Commissioner Watson,
Present.
Commissioner Strayer,
Present.
Commissioner Gauss,
Present.
Commissioner Castleberry,
Present.
all commission members present.
May I get a motion to approve the minutes of the December 7th, 2020 regular meeting of the Adrian City Commission?
Castleberry, move.
Support Strayer.
I have a motion from Commissioner Castleberry with a second from Commissioner Strayer. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Halt,
Yes.
Commissioner Roberts,
Yes.
Commissioner Watson,
Yes.
Commissioner Strayer,
Yes.
Commissioner Gauss,
Yes.
Commissioner Castleberry, Commissioner Castleberry, you're muted. Mayor Heath,
Yes.
minutes approved by unanimous vote.
May I get a motion to approve the minutes of the December 7th, 2020 special meeting of the Adrian City Commission?
So moved. Helped.
Support Roberts.
I have a motion from Commissioner Halt with a second from Commissioner Roberts. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Roberts,
Yes.
Commissioner Watson,
Yes.
Commissioner Strayer,
Yes.
Commissioner Gauss,
Yes.
Commissioner Castleberry,
Yes.
Mayor Heath,
Yes.
Commissioner Halt,
Yes.
minutes approved by unanimous vote.
May I get a motion to approve the minutes of the December 14th, 2020 special meeting of the Adrian City Commission?
Move to approve. Watson.
Support Strayer.
I have a motion from Commissioner Watson with a second from Commissioner Strayer. Roll call, please.
Mr. Watson,
Yes.
Mr. Strayer,
Yes.
Mr. Gauss,
Yes.
Mr. Castleberry,
Yes.
Mayor Heath,
Yes.
Mr. Haupt,
Yes.
Mr. Roberts.
Yes.
Minutes approved by unanimous vote.
May I get a motion to pay the vouchers as presented?
Move to pay the vouchers as presented. Roberts.
Support, help.
I have a motion from Commissioner Roberts with a second from Commissioner Halt. Roll call, please.
Strayer,
Who was that?
We didn't hear that.
Mr. Strayer,
Yes.
Mr. Gauss,
Yes.
Mr. Castleberry,
Yes.
Mayor Heath,
Yes.
Mr. Haupt,
Yes.
Mr. Roberts,
Yes.
Mr. Watson.
Yes.
Vouchers approved by unanimous vote.
At this time, I'm going to be reading a proclamation, and I do believe that Michelle Dewey is going to be screen sharing. Yes, are you? Yep, there we go. I'm going to wait till she gets this up here. Whereas revitalization of our neighborhoods and reduction of blight are important goals in our community. And whereas when Adrian citizens come together to make improvements in our city, the entire community benefits. And whereas Pastors Claude and Rosa Bevere, founders of Restore World Church, have served Adrian for over 12 years. And whereas one of the goals of Restore World Church is to bring restoration and healing to our community. And whereas together with the staff and entire congregation of Restore World Church, Pastors Claude and Rosa Bevere have revitalized the neighborhood through blight reduction and beautification of the church property that is bordered by Church, Frank, and Center Streets. Now, therefore, I, Angela Sword Heath, Mayor of the City of Adrian, Michigan, do hereby honor and thank Pastors Claude and Rosa Bevere, as well as the staff and entire congregation of Restore World Church for their efforts and commitment to our community, and encourage the citizens of Adrian to look upon their accomplishments as examples we should all follow. And I will be giving this proclamation in person to them, social distancing, of course, but obviously could not hand it to them tonight. But they have just done a remarkable, if you drive Church, Center, and Frank Street, you can see right here, we have examples of, this is one of the buildings that was there, and now this is what it looks like. We have the before and after. So there's just been, a large amount of beautification and revitalization in that block area. And we just wanted to recognize and thank them for their efforts and what they're doing in our community to make it better. So thank you. Resolution R20-217 is from Parks and Engineering. It is a resolution to establish a special assessment district number 391 for Lau Avenue. May I get a motion to adopt the resolution?
Move to adopt the resolution, Strayer.
Support. Roberts.
Is there any public comment? Are there any commissioner comments?
Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a comment.
Commissioner Gauss, go ahead.
I spoke to Mr. Elliott at the break, so much of my issue has been solved, but I want to mention it anyway. At the November 2nd, 2020 meeting, I requested from the Director of Parks and Engineering information about the average assessed values for properties on both Low and Addison Avenue. Until 7:06 this evening, like 4 minutes ago, I had not received that information. I don't know why it took 7 weeks, but I thank the administrator for getting it to me so that I would have the information that I wanted before I had to make a vote on this. I'm not sure why I didn't get it. I don't know, it just slipped through the cracks or what the deal was. I hope that nobody at the city staff thought I didn't need it. I think it's just a breakdown in communication, and we've had some of those in the past, and those are things we need to get fixed. So that's what I want to say about the communication issue, but I also want to comment that part of the information that I got, I was comparing average special assessment dollars versus property assessment values. And I found that for Low Avenue, we're going to ask the residents to pay an amount of money equal to 8.5% of their property value. And to me, that just seems like a big hit on people whose property values are only $40,000, and we're going to hit them with an average of $3,400 a piece. It seems like a whole lot of money to me to put that kind of burden on those taxpayers. That's all I have. Thank you.
Madam Mayor, if I may.
Go ahead, Commissioner Watson.
Commissioner Gauss, I think you have a good point. Do you have a solution to that kind of issue? I think, yeah, issue. Or is that just an observation you wanted to share?
It's an observation to share based on how we have been doing business here in the city for I don't know how many years. But I know that there are other cities within the county who don't do special assessments for curb and gutter. That's included in the road work. So I would like to see us at least take some look at that to see if that would be feasible and give us some consideration.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor,
Commissioner Roberts, go ahead.
I reached out to Tecumseh Commissioner and asked them, about special assessment districts and how they do it. And they don't, because a few years ago, they passed a millage to cover over 5 years. I think it's to redo like a quarter of all of their roads. So instead of the people on one street paying to benefit their property assessment, the entire community is paying, and they may or may not have anything done to their street, if I'm understanding what they've done with their millage. So instead of everyone paying, for property to be redone, like Tecumseh is, we're just asking the people on those streets who are getting the benefit to pitch in a portion. And yes, it could be a lot for some people, but it's over 10 years, and it's not everyone and every property in the city paying for a street that they may never drive down or may not have a benefit from.
Thank you, Commissioner Roberts. And I'd say that, first of all, I wouldn't be opposed to proposing a millage to do exactly the same thing. You mentioned that, it's over 10 years, but it's over 10 years at 10% interest, which in this day and age, the way the financial markets are working, that seems a little bit excessive as well. But I understand what you're saying, and is it fair? I don't know. Ask the people on Vine Street if it's fair. They'll have an opinion, I'm sure. But anyway, just saying my opinion.
I think Commissioner Gauss makes some good points, but my understanding of special assessments when we do them is that it increases the value of the property. So I think if you get to a millage, you'll get some folks, because you want to get people to go vote, put a millage on there. Either way, in the support of or deny. So I think that, that you have the issue of, why am I paying for somebody to improve their curbs and gutters on Lau Street when I live on, Tabor Street, per se. So my understanding was because those meetings are never fun to get. I mean, we fill up the chambers every year we have them, but my understanding is that it increases your property. That's why we ask you to put a little skin in the game. But again, I totally agree with the burden and especially with everything that's going on. But I think if you ask the Vine Street residents now, that road, it looks awesome. I mean, so I used to walk it in the summer. So it's kind of a double-edged sword where, people are gonna get upset, but again, it's, you're also increasing your property and surrounding areas also. So that's why I've always supported them. Never fun, but that was always my thinking on it.
I appreciate your comments, Commissioner Halt, and I think you may be correct in your understanding of how it increases property values. The issue specifically on Low Street is when you're starting at a $40,000 property, how much can you increase it? I mean, what's going to be reasonable, increase it? And, even if you increase it, I'm not sure you're going to get the percentage payback of what you're throwing out there in the assessment in the SAD.
Right, and I know Tecumseh doesn't do it, but a lot of cities do special assessments. Right when I got elected the first time, I remember those meetings, and I'm like, and I was like you, I understood the frustration the residents had, but it's one of those things where it's just part of doing business. I mean, if you have a property, we got to maintain it, and the city only asks for kicking a little bit of, and there's assistance too, I believe, right? If people can qualify for it, also to help them cover some of that cost too. So I believe that's also part of the deal too. So
that I don't know anything about. You may be correct. But thanks for the comments.
Any other commissioner comments? Okay, I have a motion from Commissioner Strayer with a second from Commissioner Roberts. Roll call, please.
Gauss.
We couldn't hear you. What was that again?
Commissioner Gauss.
No.
Commissioner Castleberry.
Yes.
Mayor Heath.
Yes.
Commissioner Halt.
yes.
Commissioner Roberts.
Yes.
Commissioner Watson.
Yes.
Commissioner Strayer.
Yes.
Resolution adopted by a 6 yes, 1 no vote.
Resolution R20-218 is from Parks and Engineering. It is a resolution to establish a special assessment district number 392 for Addison Avenue. May I get a motion to adopt the resolution?
Move to adopt the resolution. Watson.
Support.
Chair.
Is there any public comment?
Ken Tokars, 110 Locust. I guess thank Commissioner Robert for reaching out to the city of Tecumseh. The only question I have is that it's not like the people are asking for this. It was the millage that the Tecumseh voters voted on. It's, you've got people in the ivory tower are making the decision here. It's not the people, the peasants down below. It's the ivory tower. So I think that's the difference in this situation. The other thing that I want to bring up is if you're talking about property values, is you're putting in new streets in downtown, streetlights in downtown Adrian, which is going to increase their property values, but you're not charging those residents. In the last 10 years, you have redone the streets in downtown Adrian, which has increased those property values, and you have not created an SAD. One of them was with the former mayor. You guys had to go through, they did all the work, then they had to come back and do the gas lines, and he didn't like the way it looked, So I'm told that that's why they redid the streets that year. So you increase their property values, and the rest of the Adrian residents paid for that. Another situation, you got downtown businesses. They're now going to have electronic banners, and they're going to have outlets on street poles. That's a benefit, and they're not paying for that. And then you've got your parking special assessment district every year. I don't know if you realize it, but in that parking assessment district, you added, which is very questionable because in the last 15 years, you have not had a contingency. This year, you added a $60,000 contingency where you're adding value. So I don't think you equitably create special assessment districts. And if you're doing that for the downtown businesses, I think you could also go the other direction and put a cap on other properties. So if what Mr. Gauss said, a $40,000 property value, maybe you cap it at only 5% or 2% of the property value. Thank you.
Now, so Mayor and Commissioners, I'd like to respond to the previous comments. Actually, downtown building owners do in fact pay the parking fees. We pay an extra 2% tax for the tax increment fund. So it's not as if we're not paying for the services we're getting, and we pay for trash collection. We pay for all of that on behalf of our residents. Thank you.
Can you state your name, please?
I'm
Just for
sorry,
the
John
record.
Taylor, 475 Meadowbrook Drive.
Thank you.
I would like to comment, Joaquin Ramos. I would like to point out that some of these people are definitely struggling, and you're asking them to pay more for these special assessment districts, as well as, again, has it been asked for? And also, we're one city. We should be pooling resources to make this easier on all of us in all circumstances. We're not supposed to just abandon streets to work on their own. If we can make a mileage, then we should. We should be pooling our resources in case of any trouble, whether it's something like repairing roads or something more major. Thank you.
Not hearing any more public comment. Are there any commissioner comments?
Mayor, if I may.
Go ahead, Commissioner Watson.
I believe Addison Street was brought up once by a resident, and so related to some water pipes or sewer pipes underneath it and the undue wear and tear. I would like to ask Mr. Sadler a question regarding that.
Go ahead. Is he on?
Yeah, his name's showing. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Hey, Will, in your maintenance and upkeep of the pipes underneath that street, have you seen any concrete evidence of any like flush away that would cause that street to wear and tear faster than it should?
No, not at all. We actually did just replace the water main on Addison Street for a couple of reasons. One, it's kind of undersized, and two, the street was scheduled for reconstruction. So we wanted to make sure we got it in there now, but no, there's been no evidence of any kind of long-term water leaks in that area. And I actually asked a couple of my employees, each of them have been here over 20 years, and they said that that's the first they'd ever heard of that.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Will.
You're welcome.
Hearing no more commissioner comments, I have a motion from Commissioner Watson with a second from Commissioner Strayer. Roll call, please.
Mr. Castleberry.
Yes.
Mayor Heath.
Yes.
Commissioner Halt.
Yes.
Commissioner Roberts.
Yes.
Commissioner Watson.
Yes.
Mr. Strayer.
Yes.
Mr. Gauss.
Yes.
Resolution adopted by unanimous vote.
Resolution R20-219 is from Parks and Engineering. It is a resolution to authorize the acceptance of recommended changes to the consumer's energy contract to provide the installation of a street light on Cherry Street. May I get a motion to adopt the resolution?
Move to adopt the resolution, Strayer.
Support, help.
Is there any public comment? Are there any commissioner comments? I have a motion from Commissioner Strayer with a second from Commissioner Halt. Roll call, please.
Mayor Heath,
Yes.
Commissioner Halt,
Yes.
Commissioner Roberts,
Yes.
Commissioner Watson,
Yes.
Commissioner Strayer,
Yes.
Commissioner Gauss,
Yes.
Commissioner Castleberry.
Yes.
Resolution adopted by unanimous vote.
Resolution R20-220 is from administration. It is a resolution to approve a city commission regular meeting schedule for 2021. May I get a motion to adopt the resolution?
Move to adopt the resolution, Watson.
Support, Roberts.
Is there any public comment? Are there any commissioner comments?
Madam Mayor.
Go
quick
ahead,
comment.
Commissioner Gauss.
I don't have the calendar in front of me, so I apologize. I think there's a couple of those where we're moving the meeting from Monday to Tuesday because of holiday. And in both of those cases, there's a planning commission meeting scheduled for that night. So I know that we probably could move the planning commission to another day, but I just wanted to point that out. Maybe Mr. Elliott has a comment about that.
If you adopt the schedule, we'll adjust Planning Commission has not yet approved their regular meeting schedule for 2021. That'll be on their January agenda, so we'll move them accordingly if you choose these dates.
Thank you.
We have a motion from Commissioner Watson with a second from Commissioner Roberts. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Halt,
Yes.
Commissioner Roberts,
Yes.
Commissioner Watson,
Yes.
Commissioner Strayer,
Yes.
Commissioner Gauss,
Yes.
Commissioner Castleberry,
Yes.
Mayor Heath.
Yes.
Resolution adopted by unanimous vote.
Resolution R20-221 is from administration. It is a resolution to recommend the approval of an application from Mammoth Distilling for a social district permit. May I get a motion to adopt the resolution?
Move to adopt the resolution, Strayer.
Support, Watson.
Is there any public comment? Are there any commissioner comments? I have a motion from Commissioner Strayer with a second from Commissioner Watson. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Roberts,
Yes.
Commissioner Watson,
Yes.
Commissioner Strayer,
Yes.
Commissioner Gauss,
Yes.
Commissioner Castleberry,
Yes.
Mayor Heath,
Yes.
Commissioner Halt.
Yes.
Resolution adopted by unanimous vote.
Resolution R20-222 is from administration. It is a resolution to accept and object to the acceptance of unsold tax foreclosure parcels. May I get a motion to adopt the resolution?
Move to adopt the resolution, Watson.
Support, Strayer.
Is there any public comment? Are there any commissioner comments? I have a motion from Commissioner Watson with a second from Commissioner Strayer. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Watson,
Yes.
Commissioner Strayer,
Yes.
Commissioner Gauss,
Yes.
Commissioner Castleberry,
Yes.
Mayor Heath,
Yes.
Commissioner Halt,
Yes.
Commissioner Roberts.
Yes.
Resolution adopted by unanimous vote.
Resolution R20-223 is from administration. It is a resolution to consider an interlocal agreement for a designated assessor. May I get a motion to adopt the resolution?
Move to adopt the resolution. Help.
Second, Castleberry.
Is there any comment? Public comment, sorry.
Mayor, the resolution that's in your packet doesn't have a designated action in the last paragraph, so the maker of the motion should designate or should indicate whether it's to accept or reject the.
That's right. Thank you.
I move to accept the designated assessor from the county.
Second, Castleberry.
Okay. So is there any public comment on a resolution to accept an interlocal agreement for a designated assessor? Are there any commissioner comments? I have a motion from Commissioner Halt with a second from Commissioner Castleberry. Roll call, please. We couldn't hear you. Say that one more time.
Mr. Strayer,
Yes.
Mr. Gauss,
Yes.
Mr. Castleberry,
Yes.
Mayor Heath,
Yes.
Mr. Halt,
Yes.
Mr. Roberts,
Yes.
Mr. Watson.
Yes.
The resolution to accept an interlocal agreement for a designated assessor is approved by unanimous vote.
Resolution R20-224 is from administration. It is a resolution to approve the placement of a sign in the city right-of-way for Euclid. May I get a motion to adopt the resolution?
Move to adopt the resolution. Roberts.
Support, Gauss.
Are there any public comments? Are there any commissioner comments?
Madam Mayor,
Go ahead, Commissioner Roberts.
my husband and I took a couple-hour drive through the east side on Saturday morning or Sunday morning, I can't recall which, to take a look at this area and the cabinet, the Lillian cabinets and all throughout there. And it's really nice to see what's been going on over there. So if residents haven't seen it lately, take a look because things are improving. It's nice.
I have a resolution from Commissioner Roberts. Sorry, I have a motion from Commissioner Roberts with a second from Commissioner Gauss. Roll call, please.
Mr. Gauss,
Say that one more time. Every time you start, it catches up to you. Sorry.
Mr. Gauss,
Yes.
Commissioner Castleberry,
Yes.
Mayor Heath,
Yes.
Mr. Halt,
Yes.
Mr. Roberts,
Yes.
Mr. Watson,
Yes.
Mr. Strayer.
Yes.
Resolution adopted by unanimous vote.
Resolution R20-225 is from the city attorney. It is a resolution to approve amendments to the city commission's rules and procedures regarding public comment. May I get a motion to adopt the resolution?
Move to adopt the resolution. Roberts.
Support, Strayer.
Are there any public comments?
Ken Tokars, 110 South Locust. I guess a couple things, and I'm hoping that after this, the attorney could respond with respect to, you guys use the term filibuster. Filibuster is, to my knowledge, a term used by the Senate, and we're only talking about a city commission here. So can a filibuster take place at a city commission meeting, or could you confirm with city council if they're the correct term? Couple other things with this. There are people who are passionate about things in the city. And I think that you guys should allow them to talk unlimited about items. There's people that want to talk about pro-life, the right to bear arms. There's a whole plethora of items. And I don't think that you guys should have the right to take that away from citizens. You took away our right to vote for vacant city commissioner positions earlier this year. And, this group has a series of taking away citizen rights. And I think that this is just another citizen right that you guys are taking away. And I don't think that you should approve this resolution. Thank you.
I would also like to make a comment. Joaquin Ramos, of course. I don't think it's proper for the commission to be restricting people's public comment during specific items. You've before, when someone gets off topic, brought them back on topic, or even ended their public comment. Considering that's already done, I really don't see any reason to limit people any more than they already are. It's not going to take that long for someone to talk about whatever they need to on that specific agenda item if they're staying on track. And you were voted in to represent people, so you should take some time to listen to them, even if sometimes it's not the most comfortable, maybe it's inconvenient. But that's a part of holding public office. Thank you.
Mayor, you're on mute.
Thank you. Okay, are there any commissioner comments?
Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a couple of comments.
Go ahead, Commissioner Gauss.
And I know everybody thinks I'm ornery tonight, and I probably am. Nonetheless, I do want to talk about a couple of things with regard to this resolution. I would point out to Mr. Tokars, who just spoke, however, and I know we're not supposed to speak to those issues, the kinds of things he talked about having unlimited discussion of, pro-life or what other, those are clearly off topic of the resolutions that we would be talking about, and are not really applicable in this particular case. Before I comment concerning the proposed changes, I want the public to know that without exception, every commissioner and the mayor here take their responsibilities to represent the citizens of Adrian seriously. All of us worked our hardest to make the right decisions. We are fallible. Sometimes we make mistakes, but we all work our hardest together. So felt I needed to say that. In my opinion, to limit public comment to less than 5 minutes is a mistake. And this proposal asks for a 3-minute limit. I think it's a mistake. Occasionally, we have people who take advantage of the unlimited time, but what they usually say is pertinent to the topic at hand. And even though they can be long-winded, regardless of any time limit, if the speaker wanders off topic, either the mayor or the parliamentarian can interrupt and bring their comments to an end. In conclusion, I would prefer to continue the rule that allows unlimited opportunity for the public to speak, but I would support a limit of 5 minutes instead of 3. I think to do otherwise would be one of those mistakes I alluded to earlier. Thank you.
Mayor, if I may.
Go ahead, Commissioner Watson.
I was part of the group that drafted up the most recent set of rules that put the 3-minute time limit in related to the general public comment. I don't have any regret on doing that. I think it was well placed. at the time, and I think it's the right thing to do. You know, there's consideration for an efficient, timely meeting that allows us to perform our best. Us being commissioners and mayors and city staff for that matter. And you know, people say that you know, we're elected to be in this position. You're right. We absolutely are, and we know what we signed up for. But also, we're humans, and we have limits as to you know, how much information that we can efficiently digest. With that being said, though, I'm gonna switch 180 on this, and the 3-minute limit on the resolutions and the time related to a motion, I'm not overly crazy about. When we wrote the rules and the guidelines, this was talked about quite a bit as a group, and you know, I think some of this responsibility falls on the mayor, if not most of it, to manage the meeting accordingly and keep people on task, as she has in this situation that right and that authority to do it. You know, I do like the idea of consideration or discussion to move public comment possibly to the beginning of the meeting. Because, you know, I think we've heard the public before say, hey, we want to tell you something before a resolution comes to a vote. And I think that could be efficient because we've all witnessed it, the 7 of us and staff. We've all witnessed it where people show up and they're like, when do I talk? When do I talk? When do I talk? You know, and you see them get up, you see them sit down, you see them get their notes out, they put them away. And then I think some people even miss their opportunity when they want to talk. So I think we need to be more customer friendly also, or resident friendly of allowing them or allowing people to efficiently make their comments to us so that we can digest them before making a decision related to something that they're passionate about. Passionate enough that they want to come to a public forum and share their thoughts and feelings and have a spirited, or not spirited, but a moment with the hot mic. So that's where my thoughts are tonight.
Commissioner Watson,
Yes.
where we have public comment introduced at each resolution, doesn't a prepared speaker remember or come up and talk then? I just, you know, I wonder about having the public comment at the beginning of the meeting with somebody that wants to comment on 3 or 4 or 5 resolutions. I don't know, how do you handle that? And I'm not saying it can't be handled. I'm just not sure how to do it. Maybe you've got some thoughts on that.
Well, my thoughts are general in nature, but you know, 3 minutes might not be enough to handle 2, 3, 4, 5 resolutions that somebody wants to talk to. So maybe 5 minutes is. But quite often when we have a repeat commenter, it's the same message again and again and again. Not as much of a, hey, have you thought about this related to this one? Have you thought about this related to this one? It's common message. And so I think that there can be some, you know, again, the whole 3 minutes on the public comment, we went through that in depth as to what 3 minutes was. And we were provided with some examples of what you could fit in 3 minutes. You can fit a lot in 3 minutes if you're prepared.
Oh, absolutely.
And you can fit even more in 5. And so, or 6 or 7. I think that there's, you know, I think there's flow between the commission that needs to happen in some of these meetings, as well as I think that we are there to listen to people in the public forum to get their feelings and thoughts out, because we've got some very good thoughts and feelings from people that are different perspectives than ours that we need to hear.
I think it's important to encourage people to reach out by email, et cetera, as well beforehand. Giving us a little more time to digest your passions is always helpful. So while I certainly don't want to censor anyone at our meetings, I would welcome any conversation or emails, et cetera, beforehand as well. I think that's important and a great way to communicate with us on top of the comments.
I really like that comment.
Any other commissioner comments? So I have a motion from Commissioner Roberts with a second from Commissioner Strayer. Roll call, please.
Mr. Castleberry,
Yes.
Mayor Heath,
Yes.
Mr. Hell,
Yes.
Mr. Roberts,
Yes.
Mr. Watson,
No.
Mr. Strayer. Mr. Strayer,
You're on mute.
Sorry, yes.
Mr. Gauss.
No.
Resolution adopted by a 5 yes, 2 no vote.
Resolution R20-226 is from the city clerk. It is a resolution to approve a dual purpose permit for North Coast Testing Laboratories of Michigan, LLC, for 1725 West Beecher Street. May I get a motion to adopt the resolution?
Move to adopt the resolution, Strayer.
Support Roberts.
Are there any public comments? Are there any commissioner comments? I have a motion from Commissioner Strayer with a second from Commissioner Roberts. Roll call, please.
Mayor Heath,
Yes.
Mr. Hell,
Yes.
Mr. Roberts,
Yes.
Mr. Watson,
Yes.
Mr. Strayer,
Yes.
Mr. Gauss,
Yes.
Mr. Castleberry.
Yes.
Resolution adopted by unanimous vote.
Resolution R20-227 is from the city clerk. It is a resolution to approve a dual purpose permit for MEM Gardens LLC at 346 Logan Street. May I get a motion to adopt the resolution?
Move to adopt the resolution. Roberts.
Support, Strayer.
Are there any public comments? Are there any commissioner comments? I have a motion from Commissioner Roberts with a second from Commissioner Strayer. Roll call, please.
Mr. Hell,
Yes.
Mr. Roberts,
Yes.
Mr. Watson,
Yes.
Mr. Strayer,
Yes.
Mr. Gauss,
Yes.
Mr. Castleberry,
Yes.
Mayor Heath.
Yes.
Resolution adopted by unanimous vote.
Resolution R20-228 is from Utilities. It is a resolution to approve a contract extension for wwtp biosolids removal. May I get a motion to adopt the resolution?
Move
Move to
to
adopt the resolution. Watson.
support Roberts.
Are there any public comments? Are there any commissioner comments? I have a motion from Commissioner Watson with a second from Commissioner Roberts. Roll call, please.
Mr. Roberts,
Yes.
Mr. Watson,
Yes.
Mr. Strayer,
Yes.
Mr. Gauss,
Yes.
Mr. Castleberry,
Yes.
Mayor Heath,
Yes.
Mr. Hell.
Yes.
Resolution adopted by unanimous vote.
Resolution R20-229 is from Utilities. It is a resolution to approve a contract extension for WTP lime removal. May I get a motion to adopt the resolution?
Move to adopt the resolution. Help.
Support, Strayer.
Are there any public comments? Are there any commissioner comments? I have a motion from Commissioner Halt with the second from Commissioner Strayer. Roll call, please.
Mr. Watson,
Yes.
Mr. Strayer,
Yes.
Mr. Gauss,
Yes.
Mr. Castleberry,
Yes.
Mayor Heath,
Yes.
Mr. Halt,
Yes.
Mr. Roberts.
Yes.
Resolution adopted by unanimous vote.
Resolution R20-230 is from Parks and Engineering Services. It is a resolution to authorize taking ownership of Adrian College Boulevard. May I get a motion to adopt the resolution?
Move to adopt the resolution. Watson.
Support, Gauss.
Are there any public comments? Are there any commissioner comments? I have a motion from Commissioner Watson with a second from Commissioner Gauss. Roll call, please.
Strayer,
Say that one more time, please.
Mr. Strayer,
Yes.
Mr. Gauss,
Yes.
Mr. Castleberry,
Yes.
Mayor Heath,
Yes.
Mr. Halt,
Yes.
Mr. Roberts,
Yes.
Mr. Watson.
Yes.
Resolution adopted by unanimous vote.
Commissioners, there are various reports in your packet. Any comments or questions on those? Okay, moving on to public comment. It is now public comment time. There is a 3-minute time limit. And just to reiterate, please state your name and address. Hearing no public comment, I'm going to move on. Are there any commissioner comments? Hearing no commissioner comments, may I get a motion to adjourn?
So move. Help.
Support. Watson.
I have a motion from Commissioner Halt with a second from Commissioner Watson. All in favor say aye.
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 Meeting is adjourned. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, everyone.
You too.
You too, man.